Hey guys, and welcome to a new video. Today we're going to talk about my league start for Path of Exile Harvest League, as well as the beginning of the my league start diary series that I'm doing every single league. And this is something I want to cover before we go into the build. And by the way, small spoiler, it's going to be the Bleed Bow Gladiator. So if you're interested in that, then you can, feel free to continue watching the video. Other than that, we're going to talk about the build, how I plan to design it, or at least like how I build it, where I get my gems and all that kind of stuff a little bit later on. But first of all, we're going to talk about the start, the beginning of this time's series, which is like my league diary for the Harvest League. So what I'm going to do for the next probably 7, 8, or 9 days, I will set myself some goals, and every single day I will update the series, just updating my progress basically, and also talk about the plans for the current day and so on. And then on the next day we're gonna talk about could I get all the things done that I plan to do, and things like that, right? So since today in the evening is the start for me, I think it's 22 o'clock, 10 o'clock in the evening, means that for me, it's a little bit weird. The first stream is not always the longest stream, right? I know a lot of people push themselves and go like 20, 30 hours on the first stream when the league begins, but I'm just different. I'm like, my normal sleeping schedule is somewhere, I'm awake until like 4 or 5 a.m. or something, then I sleep until like 12, and I'm not seeing any reason why I should not do this as well, right? So basically, that means we not really have a lot of plans for today. There is going to be probably 3 steps or 3 marks that I might hit. Okay, the minimum that I'm going to do is going to be Act 5. If I'm more like, how do you say, more motivated, which will I probably be, I'm going to go to Blood Aqueducts, which is Act 9, right? And then do a couple of runs before I call it off, or call it a day basically. Or if I'm really motivated, I'm going to put through the whole campaign and end the stream when I've done my first tier 1 map, and then I can say, okay, I've done the labs, I've done the the campaign basically, and once I am up again and recorded the update for the YouTube series, then we can start right away with mapping. That would be the best solution. But usually on league starts, I know you have no leveling items, you not have anything prepared, you don't have quality on your gems, you don't have anything of that. Plus, you want to test out the new league mechanic. I will do that from the beginning on. So I'm going to stick a lot of time into, let's say, useless stuff basically, right? So I can imagine that it probably takes me about 10 hours roughly to get into mapping basically, right? Good. That is actually the only plan for today. Obviously, I want to test out the new league mechanics, so I can tomorrow then give you an update on how does it feel like, did it work out, was it buggy and stuff like that, and how the overall feeling of the build is coming along. How was it at mapping? How was it hard to get certain item parts, and so on. And if I'm hitting Blood Aqueducts, then I will probably farm maybe some tabular cards, not because I want to farm the tabula rasa. I always like start mapping, and once I have enough currency, and if I really want one, then I just buy one, right? But it doesn't hurt to get like like some pre-leveling going. Blood Aqueducts is very well known for speed leveling. So if you hit there on level 57 or something, right, you can easily go to 65 in a matter of like an hour or so, right? So you can pre-level for Act 9 and 10 basically, and you're gonna find some humility cards, and usually in the start they sell for like 2 or 3 chaos per piece. So if you're really doing this speed leveling, what I probably gonna do, the couple cards that I'm going to find depending on how lucky I am. I mean, if I find like 7 cards in the first hour or so, then I probably just finish the project, right, and just finish the tabula and have a 6 link early on. But I think I'll maybe find like 2 or 3 or 4 cards, and then I will just sell them for chaos and then move on, because I'm just going to basically stack up some currency, the couple chaos orbs that you're gonna find. I'm not expecting a solid orb drop, because as far as I remember on league starts, I think only Legion League was the first and only league till now where I actually found an Exalt before hitting 2 maps, right? So I don't expect any. I mean, if it drops, obviously great. If not, then I'll just stick with a couple of chaos that I'm going to find, like probably 10, 15 chaos until like starting to mapping or so, and then we can probably start to fine-tune the gear before we start mapping, getting our res capped, for example, if we haven't done that yet, or maybe getting some nice item snipes for like a chaos or something like that. This is the plan for tonight. So tomorrow, after I stop streaming, I will probably make an update video and upload this one right away, so you guys see how I did in the night. Basically, what did I find, highlights and stuff like that combined. So if you want to play along with me or follow my progress, because my plan is always for the first 7 days of the league, I want to do all maps, like the Atlas completion, 159 or whatever, how many maps we're going to have this time. I think it was 158 or 159 or something. Fully cleared, all 32 watchstones, including the Awakener level 8 kill. Once this is done, then I can say League Start is finished, League Start was successful. Now I can move on to the next build, maybe a build that I would like to try out. And noting that as well, I explained in yesterday's video why I don't want to try out any new brand skills or any new two-hand things. I know it's a new thing, but just to cover that real quick, I really like to play something on League Start that I know that is working, that doesn't need any unique requirements, just any life resistance gear, and that's about it. And I don't have to worry about, will my skill be good or bad? And since I saw any kind of bleed characters will be super strong, especially Gladiator on League Start, so I don't think we're gonna have any problems pushing into the end game and pushing for the content clear on the first week. Good, that's about that one. I would say now let's start talking about the build. It is going to be my Bleed Bow Gladiator that I have built myself or worked on. It was my last character from the Delirium League, and had a lot of fun with this build. And I just have to say that this build just offers everything that I want from a build. It is tanky, it is super fast, high clear speed, can do all content, has insane gearing curve or potential, right? You can start with nothing because the gear, if you want to, you can add a Headhunter later on, or the Rithados Coil. This is an item that is actually super expensive in the start, so I'm not covering this here as well. But this is probably the only unique item that I'm going to use, right? The rest are just rare items, and the rare item can start from like an alchemy orb, a chaos orb early on, right? Or you can go up to like whatever, I'm just going to mirror this item, mirror that item. So the gearing curve, you can stick 1 exalt into the build and will probably work, or you can stick 1,000 exalts or even more, and it will just get stronger and stronger and stronger, and it's just a very, very cool build to play. And I had so much fun that I said, like, I'm going to play this one as my league startup for this league. So, I'm not covering any kind of items in here, right? So the items, besides a naked bow here, there is nothing in there. The reason for that is it is league start, we cannot afford anything. Usually on the first 24 hours, you're probably gonna be like soul self-on more or less until I start mapping, and when I say like I have 10 chaos, I'm now going to upgrade my gear. Check on PoE trade what we're gonna have available for 1 chaos max buyout, you know, the best that I can get for 1 chaos on boot slot, belt, gloves, or a bow or something like that, right? So I don't fill up anything here because it's just not necessary. I mean, in terms of flask, you're gonna have a live flask, a quicksilver flask, the typical flask that you're gonna have while playing solo, basically. So I cannot include any kind of Cinder Swallow Urn or a bottled face or something like that. This is something we're gonna buy maybe in a week or so, right? So I don't really see a reason to cover that. But what I did is adding all the skills that I want to use, and I made the work that I have here on the notes tab, right? I wrote down every single gem that I want to use and where to get those, right? So this is my whole 6 links here over here, for example, or obviously if you have a 4 link, skip that one. If you have 3 links, skip the other 3, right? So it's everything planned over here, right? And then I wrote down the list of gems on level 1, for example, what you can use in level 1, where you can get them, like Chance to Bleed support is Act 1 quest reward after killing Hillock. So these are the gems that you can buy on the NPC as well. Level 4, where to get certain items, level 8, 16, and level 38, basically after killing Malachi in Act 4, you should have all the gems in your inventory, basically, if you cannot use them, because you're not going to have double 6 link, for example. But what you can do is still getting all the gems together, because you can pre-level them, right? Just take a weapon, any like 5 socket, 4 socket, whatever you're going to find, put it in the second weapon slot, and put there in your, for example, let's see here, vicious projectiles, for example, right? Because you will not include that in a 3-link or in a 4-link, so you're safe to take those gems in your weapon swap, so they're still gonna get the experience. And once you find the 5-link, for example, you can just take out the gem from the weapon swap and put it in your main link, and you don't have to level up a level 1 gem once you find a 5-link, for example, right? So here on the notes tab, all the gems listed and where to get them, where to buy them. And skills-wise, it's just going to be split arrow. I unlinked those two. That would be this is the 4-link, the 5-link, the 6-link, and so on. The same on my puncture. Here I actually forgot to add those, but it's basically the same. So you have vicious projectiles, you have deadly ailments, you have swift affliction, then you have brutality. Oh, where is it? Brutality. Brutality. And the last one was chance to bleed, right? So this is my 6-link for puncture. Same rules as on the split arrow, basically. So basically in the start, what you want to have is the chance to bleed. So the problem on bleed bow gladiator or bleed characters in the start, if you're just gonna make a new tree, I don't know, like manage tree, or just open a new path of building, basically. So I can show you guys how I plan to start this tree. So we're just gonna make like a new template, so we have an empty skill tree, basically. So we are going to be the duelist, and we're going to ascendant into the gladiator. On gladiator, first things first is blood in the eyes and the bleed pops. This will just generate your chance to bleed, because this is the main problem you're going to have in the start with leveling this character. So the thing is, if you play a bleed character, you want to reach 100% chance to bleed or above, right? Above is useless, but below 100% is shit. Because that means if you have like 50% chance to bleed, sometimes you need like 2 or 3 arrows basically to hit the target to actually inflict your main source of damage, right? So the first and most important thing on this build is to get the 100% chance to bleed. So basically on the start, we're just gonna go down this road. This road here would be faster, but still in the start, the life notes and stuff is just really great. Then I would probably path down here and get Deadly Draw, because this is the first source bow attacks have chance to bleed. Then we probably gonna go down here and get the dirty techniques, because this small node here has also 20% chance to bleed. And I'm skipping the jewel slots in the start because what jewels should I put in there, right? Probably the ones from the quest rewards. I don't think you're gonna find some high tier jewels. Like if you find anything like life resistance jewels or something like that, then you can obviously take the jewel slot. Make sure that you take the dexterity instead of the strength, just because bows need a very high dexterity early on. But in the start, I'm probably just going to skip that. And then next thing, I'm going to rush over here and take the chance to bleed over here. So they changed that. Usually it was like double or 2 times chance to bleed, and on the other side it was 1 time 6% damage over time multiplier. Now they changed it to double 4% multiplier and only 1 time chance to bleed, but the small node over here has also chance to bleed, right? So in the start, you're probably gonna go like this, or just fill out the whole form here, and once you have your 100% chance to bleed, once you get those bleed nodes over here, then you will obviously unskill this one, just because if you have more than 100% chance to bleed, it doesn't matter. As soon as you have 100%, that's fine, you know? Good. What else would be important? If you have mana problems, then definitely take those 2 points and get them life and mana leech. I will do that early on as well. And then we're probably going to go over here, Soul of Steel, the life notes over here, and then rush to a Red Storm, which is the next source of chance to bleed. At this part, you probably, we would be level 23. It depends. I mean, this is with all the skill points and so on. Because you want to make sure that you have your ascendancy, basically, right? Because this one gives you chance to bleed as well. But once we are hitting like level 30 or 20 or something, once we have the Deadly Draw, the bleed notes over here, and probably the bleed notes over here, that dirty techniques, and the chance to bleed support, don't forget about that. That gives also like 25% chance to bleed. We will be able to get the 100% chance to bleed. The next thing that I think is very important is the Resolute technique. So Resolute technique is that your hits cannot be evaded, means you don't need accuracy, right? You just need, yeah, nothing, basically. You always hit 100% chance, right? So you have 100% chance to hit, and you have 100% chance to bleed. And from this point on, this is the first 2 things that I want to reach. Resolute technique and 100% chance to bleed. And obviously, chance to bleed has higher priority because early on you're gonna have massive amounts of chance to hit anyways. So the higher level you get, the more accuracy you need to keep on your 100% accuracy. So early on, wrestler technique is super fine. Once this is done here, now we can start going towards other things. For example, finishing those 2 life notes over here, or get far side with the 2 life notes over here, or go to the left side. I mean, this is something I'm gonna skill anyways, but it doesn't really matter if you first go for that one or second go to the other. This is like my core tree that I just showed with getting the chance to bleed, basically, right? Then definitely cleaving and razor's edge. So these are DPS modifiers, and you might think, now wait a second, these are sword notes, these are axe notes. Why? The thing for that is Razor's Edge, the damage over time multiplier for bleeding, is a global mod. It does not say with swords, right? Like here, sword attack deals 30% increased damage with ailments. That is true, but on the last line, attacks have 50% chance to cause bleeding. There's a global mod that will count for axes, for bows, for maces, whatever. Okay. Obviously, the first big item that we want to get is this jewel slot here, the Line Eyes Fall, because this will transfer all of these notes besides cleaving. Like, this is exactly out of range if, as you see on the green middle circle or turquoise circle. It is out of range, right? Why do we still take it? Bleeding you inflict deals damage 15% faster, which is an insane damage increase. So that single point will give you a lot of damage. And we're not going to count with an early Line Eyes Fall anyway, so we skip the jewel slot for here. Just take those notes here for the global damage over time multiplier and chance to cause bleeding. Then you can fill up life notes over here. Get the Scion Life Cluster, for example, and take Heart of the Warrior and go to the left side. So I think this one is like level 68. If I close my leveling template now, let's say don't save, this is the tree that I made. This is like level 78. This is definitely reachable like in a couple hours of mapping low tier maps or something. You're gonna hit the levels pretty easily because you're super motivated to play, and although you're only farming low tier maps, you're just way more hyped to play and just grind and farm and find your exalts and stuff that you're gonna level up quite easily. So basically, this is exactly what I showed over here. Oh, yeah, and don't forget the Red Storm. I think I mentioned that before anyways. So now we have a couple of things to try out. So this is the basic tree, right? We are now level 74. Good. So what can you adapt to that one? If you say, I'm lacking resistance, you have here 28 all resistance and a jewel slot to fix your resistance early on, right? If you need, if not, you can skip that. If you still need, if you have that and even need more resistance, then here a diamond skin gives also a bunch of all resistance, or over here the cloth and chain gives also all resistance. I mean, you want to reach your all resistance throughout your gearing, right? Because skill points can be damage, can be life, and if you have to use skill points to cap your resistance, that's always super bad, right? So, but these are just 3 nice options. If you say like, I cannot get rest cap, what should I do? Here, 28 all resistance. Here you have like, I don't know, like 12 plus 3 is 15 plus 3 is 18 all resistance over here. Here 2 points for 16 all resistance, so it shouldn't be hard to cap your resistance on this character because this is a non-crit build. We don't need to focus around I don't know, like the crit notes over here or anything like that. Just life resistance, cap your resistance and stuff like that. Good. The next thing that we want to aim, as I said, the Line Eyes Fall high priority item. If you have this in here, then we're gonna take the Slaughter as well, because this will transform all the X notes here into bow notes as well. But I think this one is the worst one on those 3, because these 2 I would actually skill if I don't have the Line Eyes Fall, just because of the global modifiers. But this is like the last thing you do, right? First, you're gonna focus on everything else, like chance to bleed, RT, and stuff like that. And once you say like, okay, I'm now level 50, I don't have anything else to get, and I don't want to take all these small life notes over here because I'm healthy enough with my Scion Life Cluster, then we start taking Cleaving and Razor's Edge, farm for your Line Eyes Fall, and add the Slaughter as well. Then on the next part, I definitely want to go ailment immune on this build, right? I tested this one out last league, and it is so great. If you're immune to freeze, to shock, ignite, burning ground, shocked ground, chilled ground, you're 100% chance like immune to that, right? It also will help you massively on Cyrus, for example, because his beam that he's shooting, the Quadra beam, 1 freezes, 1 ignites, 1 shocks you, nothing of anything, right? But to reach that point, we need 100% chance to ailment immune. How I solved this last league was ailment immunity on helm, on the chest, on the boots, and on this one here. Thick skin gives also a chance to avoid elemental ailments. And I think they added those over here as well. So plus the change to crystal skin, they added actually 3+1 max res. So Soul of Steel here was the only thing that gave you actually 1 max resistance. Now they added 2 more clusters. One is this one over here, the crystal skin, and one is on the top side here with Anointed Flesh, which also gives you 1 max resistance, right? These things are insane, but I would not skill them. The travel notes, I mean, Soul of Steel we're going to take anyways, right? It's like the best way. I mean, you can take skill like this early on, right? But I think since you're only scaling towards, or at least like you want to only get like life resistance and stuff, it's not a big deal to go Soul of Steel, take those 2 life notes, and just have like more life, more resistance, and the max resistance as well. If you want to skip that, take that point over here, and just skip those 6 or 7 points over here, and you're gonna be even faster on the Resolute technique, but I don't think it's going to be too necessary before level 50 or 60 or something like that. Good. So the one on the top side, even though later on, if I skill that points, if I miss intelligence, get this one. If I want to run Pride as well, I probably need to get the Minor's Mana Reservation and Purity of Flesh. Even with this skill tree here, there is no way that I can safely go over to the Anointed Flesh for the max resistance, so this one falls off completely, right? But what does not fall off is this one over here. And here is the question, is it worth? So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least 6 kill points to get to crystal skin for this chance to avoid elemental ailments and the max resistance, right? So I think that I will just path out over here, take those life notes, just fill up those life notes, everything that gives you chance to avoid elemental ailments. And I think I'm just going to anoint crystal skin for the max resistance and the chance to avoid elemental ailments. And with all these notes together, I'm probably gonna have like 30 or 40% chance to avoid elemental ailments already. Which means that on the chest you get like 35%. You can solve this problem with like the cluster jewels, for example, does also work. I'm not even sure. I think they changed some of the notes, but there will still be some notes with avoid elemental ailments. And in the end, chest boots, the shaper boots give up to like 40%. Then the gloves, I think, the helmet, there is multiple sources, but with anointing that one and getting all those notes here, it should be fairly easier than last league to hit the cap of 100%, which will be super great to have. What else? The Thresh of Hope that I always put in here to anoint the minimum endurance and minimum frenzy based on outmatch and outlast. So for ascendancies, first Blood in the Eyes, then Gracious Violence, then the Challenger Charges, and lastly the Outmatch and Outlast. This one is the one that you're gonna have the last part just because you need Uberlab, right? You need to get all the trials done and stuff like that, so it's not going to be something for the first or second day of the league start. And then you still want to have your maximum friends endurance charge, right? Since we're using a bow, we don't have an offhand. So the bow is counted as a main hand, and it will generate the frenzy charges. So what you can do early on is to just take 4 points into Discipline of the Unyielding, because you're going to have chance to get endurance charge on kill. So for mapping, you're going to permanently have your endurance and frenzy charges available, right? Before you have that, you can still take those 4 points, but then you just get a couple of endurance charges. It's not really necessary at all, right? Because you can still take Blood Rage to generate your frenzy charges. After some time, when you get the Thread of Hope, then you can anoint, or at least not anoint, but just without those skill points, you're going to take Discipline of the Unyielding and Discipline of the Slaughter, because I want to go again with a 3 minimum endurance, 3 minimum frenzy charges. This has a very low priority, I would say, because even though you get the Treasure of Hope and you can take those two, you're going to have 1 and 1 minimum frenzy endurance, right? Where do you get the other +2? One would be a ring with multi-modded, with minimum frenzy, minimum endurance. So this is already a 2 Exalts craft. This is something not for the first couple of days of the league. Next point, minimum frenzy, minimum endurance, minimum power charges, something like that, on a crafting bench is very hard to get, okay? I remember I'm always doing all the unveils, and even to this date in Delirium League, I mean, it's now standard, but whatever, I only have 2 of the 3 unlocked already, right? So you definitely need a crafter that is like super heavily focused on that to actually get the crafts done. And the 2 exalts, and then we're still not finished because you need a minimum endurance on your ring or on the amulet, and 1 minimum frenzy on ring or amulet to get the full package, right? Because as long as you don't have the 3-3, this one will not be active, right? So we can get with the bow the frenzy on kill, with this one endurance on kill. So while mapping, you're gonna have this Outmatch Outlast active with a 10% more physical damage with Frenzy and 10% reduced physical damage while maximum endurance. But for single target for Cyrus, you're not going to have that active. So it's questionable when you should go for that. I think it's going to be somewhat later in the game or in the stage, right? What you can also do is, depending on the Might of the Meek prices, you can place a Might of the Meek over here, take those life notes over here as well, right? And you will include those as well. And if you're just leveling and you're not going to find any upgrades and you have already done all of that, what you can do is just take those life notes and then just fill up life notes, right? If you have dual slots, take this one, then life note over here, life note, all resistance, life, here is more life, those life notes, if you have the Might of the Meek as well, right? You can fill up the other life notes over here. What else could you do? Like, just scale into life, you know? There is not like super many options that you have on gaining bleed damage over time multiplier. The most of that, the majority you will already have, and we have to focus on the bow. And then you can also scale over here, take the Purity of Flesh with the Chaos Resistance, since the Shakari Pantheon will not make us poison immune anymore, so it might be a thing to actually cap your chaos resistance as well. And there is an anointment over here, Cleanse Thoughts. This is something that might help you with that as well, if you don't need the chance to avoid elemental ailments, if you can get these sources from another part. So I would say I'm gonna delete all of that, or at least return to, I hope it just saved it. That was the typical, the notes are in here. So basically, again, on the notes part, you're going to see all the gems, where to get them. The tree is mandatory, right? And we just went over what we're going to go first. But this is my basic tree. This is like level 78, super easy to hit. And then we're going to go from there. And as I said in the start, this one is not even necessary at all. So if we save that, it's like level 74. Which is like first day or second day max of the league, and then we're gonna continue from that point on what items we're gonna get, and then just build it from there and update the POB accordingly, let's say. Alright guys, that's it for my league starter. I hope, or at least I wish you a wonderful start into the Harvest League. A lot of lucky sixlings, mirrors, exalted orbs. I wish you all the best, and hopefully you're gonna achieve your goals that you planned for yourself. And if you want to play along with me, as I said, mbXtreme on YouTube, we have, or at least I will update the league diary every single day with all the highlights, exalted orb drops, whatever we're gonna get or find or do. And it's going to be a lot of fun, like every league. Thanks for tuning in, thanks for watching, and see you on the next video.